Hey gang, welcome to the I Can podcast. Today we're talking with Sensei Doug Bedsaul from Starkville, Mississippi about the top 5 reasons why martial arts is a must for back to school this season. So welcome, Sensei Doug.
Thanks for having me today.
My pleasure. So hey, before we get started, can you tell everybody exactly where you're located in town in case they decide that, hey, you know what, martial arts is something I really want to look into, and I like this fella. I want to talk to him.
Sure thing. We are on Lynn Lane in Starkville. So this is right down from our Sportsplex Center and right across the street from McKee Park. Very easy to get to, plenty of parking.
Okay, cool. So before we get into the top 5 reasons, I think this is really important for people to understand is how did you get started? Like people want to get to know you a little bit. How did you get started in the martial arts? And, you know, what was that aha moment or that time where all of a sudden you said, you know what, I really want to make this into my lifelong passion in my career?
Well, I had always wanted to do martial arts when I was a young child and never had the opportunity to. It kept coming back and spurring on my interest, whether it was situations I got into in school, situations where there were bullies involved, people who wanted to follow me home and take care of things outside of school. And I always had this feeling that I needed to get involved with it and never had the opportunity. Well, I came to the university here in 1996 and was able to start taking classes on the university campus. So that just solidified that desire even further for me to start taking classes, to really get involved with a martial arts program, even though at that point, the personal self-defense aspect was no longer the forefront of my drive for it. The interest was just as strong as it ever had been. And so then at first opportunity I got to start taking classes at a school off of campus, I took that opportunity. Started slowly. Very soon I was in classes 4, 5, 6 days a week. And now it's been 25 plus years and I'm going as often or more as I did when I started.
Okay, that's amazing. Okay, so you didn't start out as a child, then you got your start a little bit later, which I think is great because a lot of people today, they'll look at martial arts and they're thinking like, oh, well, you know, there's karate and there's gymnastics and there's soccer, and you know, and immediately they're thinking about kids. But truly, that age group, that you know, teen group into young 20s group, that's an amazing opportunity for a martial arts school and instructor to make a huge difference on a person because, you know, learning, having a lot of knowledge is good. Having physical skills and strength is good, but none of that matters unless you have an I can attitude, unless you have developed, you know, these empowered beliefs that you can do anything that you set your mind to. You're not going anywhere very fast, especially in today's day and age. So the martial arts is cool and it's different than anything else because, you know, there is it's difficult, right? And it really does drive home the point. It's the vehicle that allows us to really help other people, you know, really internalize the I can type attitude. Would you agree with that?
I would. To your point, you know, it's great to get kids started at an early age, but you don't have to. So people like me who started later on, even people who start, you know, in the middle of their careers, we easily have people come in starting at 30 and 40 years old, and it's never too late to get in there and really work on those areas in yourself that could be improved upon. So we see people all the time who come in that might not be in the best shape. They've never played competitive sports and still have no interest in that, but they come in, set a small goal for themselves. They work hard in class, they practice out of class, they see themselves reach their initial goal, and then now they're setting a new one. And then they reach out when they set a new one. And that cycle continues itself in our classes, but also into their careers and personal lives.
Yeah, it's interesting. I was looking at the top 5 reasons that you gave me why martial arts is a must for back to school. And I was thinking to myself, as an adult, those are the top 5 reasons why martial arts is a must just in life as an adult out in the workplace. elementary school, primary school, middle school, high school, college, and beyond. I mean, all of these apply. And I think that's a testament to it, that martial arts is something that it's not something you do usually for a little while. It's not just like, it doesn't just have to be a fun activity, although it is, but it literally becomes a lifestyle, something that you choose to do. And it's something that you can do for a lifetime if you choose to.
Certainly. And we talk to people about that on their very first day coming to see us. Obviously, we'd like to help them out in a back to school time. We'd like to help them out on a summer special if they just want to get a little training in over the summer. But we always tell them up front, we want to develop a lifelong passion. So something that you're going to continue into adulthood. You can continue it past your career into retirement. This is something that's going to provide health benefits for you long term. And if we do our job correctly as teachers, you're never going to give up on that passion. You're going to go and develop it and continue wherever you go in life.
What's interesting too is that adults that get involved in it, it's funny how once they start to have children, all of a sudden a second generation comes in. And now the parents want their children to experience what they experienced as kids or as young adults when they started too. So it's kind of like we say, enthusiasm is contagious, right? So if you have a passion for it, and you start your kids out along this line, you start them out early on developing that attitude. So let's talk about this. This is what I think that the first top 5 reason that you said for martial arts is a must for back to school. And I think this is really, really big, especially today, is self-control. So talk to me a little bit about what you were thinking when you said self-control is a reason why kids really need martial arts.
Well, self-control is a theme that, we really harp on in our classes. And I think it's pretty universal as far as martial arts is concerned. You really want to master yourself, know to control your actions. The way that we describe self-control in our classes is in 3 ways. We say focus the eyes, focus the mind, and focus the body. And if you can do those 3 things, then you can control your own actions, you can control your thoughts, you can control your words. And we know that our actions, words, and thoughts can get us in trouble in a lot of situations. The way that comes back to getting prepared for school is that if you can control your thoughts, your mind, you can control your body and your actions, then you can really be prepared for all the learning that is involved in school. So you're not going to be distracted. You can focus on the task at hand, whether that's our classes here, learning how to punch and kick, or whether it's learning your spelling, learning your new math skills. You've got to really focus on the task at hand so that you can learn, absorb everything that's involved. Another way that it comes into play is basically self-control keeps you out of trouble. Mm-hmm. So you don't want to be, or as a parent, you don't want to have that kid that's in class and is always getting in trouble, whether it's, picking on the kid next to you or talking in the back of the room, things like that, that one will distract yourself from learning, but also starting to distract others. And so if you start becoming that, that trouble kid, the kid who's always getting on to in class, things like that, then you're going to be distracted. You're going to distract others. It's possibly unconsciously, the teacher will start, not putting as much effort into that particular child because they don't think that child is reciprocating and is wanting to learn. So overall, this strong emphasis on self-control in our classes, and we encourage it with parents when they take their kids home, really works on allowing the child to learn, absorb as much information as possible. It allows them to stay out of trouble so that they stay in the classroom longer so that they can really get the information, and allows them to really focus on the task at hand, wherever they are.
What's interesting about that too is, a lot of parenting doesn't come with a handbook, and neither does teaching, honestly. They learn how to teach curriculum, but they don't necessarily learn the psychology. And one of the things that challenges that I see all the time is when we're trying to teach a child self-control, we're always saying, no, 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 don't do this, don't do that, don't do this, don't do it. Here's another rule, here's another, obstacle. It doesn't work. And I think what's cool about the martial arts is you don't have to tell somebody no. You're just putting them in an environment to where they learn how to act differently without ever saying no, without ever telling them, don't do this. Instead, you're saying, hey, this is, this is a way, this is how we live, this is what we do, this is what we represent. And the child naturally starts to act that way. They start to live up to your expectations that you set, which is very cool. Boy, I've seen so many of those transformations where you get somebody who was labeled trouble, and then a few years in a martial arts program, and all of a sudden they're like, it's amazing what's happened with this person. I don't know what happened. Maybe they just outgrew it. And I was like, no, it's because they were involved in our program, and they literally started to we gave them a positive place to be, to start to develop their attitude, behavior, and character. That's what happened. All right, let's move on to number 2. I think this is also important, whether it's a kid or an adult. You said another of the top 5 reasons that martial arts is a must is how to work with others.
Exactly. So in our classes, think about hands-on learning with martial arts. Most of what we do, you have to have a partner. And we work through several different partners in class. So you get a lot of things through that. You've got to work with a partner to perfect your own skill. As part of partner drills, you're also working with your partner to help them learn a skill.
Mm-hmm.
The process of working through several different partners in a classroom, in our classes, really helps on the diversity level. We have people come in from all different backgrounds, whether that's gender, ethnicity, age, size, etc. So being able to work with all these different people in your classes here with us helps you further prepare you for your classes at school. When you're in school, you're going to have people from all different types of background. You're going to have to work with those people rather intimately, whether it's on a specific project or simply as a member of a team being in your classroom. That whole classroom has to work together as a team in order to really learn the subject that they're teaching that day. And that's what we work on here. The whole classroom is a team. You may have a group of 2 over here and another partner group over here, but the whole group is a team. We work together. It doesn't really work to have one kid who is learning and the others are not. Everybody works together toward that goal of learning the skill for the day. And that really does bleed over into the classroom.
And that's true with adults too, right? When we walk into the dojo, we take our shoes off, you step onto the mat. Maybe you are a school teacher by profession, or maybe you're a surgeon, or maybe you're a plumber, but when you step on the mat, you're just a martial arts student.
Exactly. Everybody's the same when they come in.
Yeah, that's a huge lesson in there. There's definitely a camaraderie. There's a brotherhood, a sisterhood that happens inside the martial arts, which is unlike anything else. So 100%, I totally agree with that. Let's talk about the third one, which is exercise. Things aren't like they used to be. I remember when I was a kid, there weren't all of these video games and online this and online that. It was go outside and play and find something to do. So there was always physical activity going on. And now that's not the case. So let's talk a little bit about martial arts and exercise.
Sure. We're having several people come to us these days saying, I've got to get my kid up and active, especially after we've been shut down for so long and so many things have switched to an online format, whether it's school, even at work. Our meetings are now online most of the time. So there's not even the aspect of walking down the hallway to get to a meeting. So much stuff is stationary that people now really want to get themselves and their kids up and moving around.
Mm-hmm.
Coming to our classes certainly provides that. It puts something in your daily schedule where this period of time where I'm going to go and I'm going to be very active for a set amount of time. Doing so, has obvious health advantages to it, physical health where, you have a longer life, your heart is healthier, you can control your weight and your blood sugar better. So many different things that have been researched over time that are benefits of an active lifestyle. Another aspect of that is mental health. You can certainly get stuck mentally when you spend all your time researching a subject. So that whether we're talking about work or school, if you get totally involved in one particular subject and that's all you think about, you're working so hard, whether that's on a research paper or math homework, you get to where you're exhausted. and because mentally you've spent so much effort on one small piece of information. Well, just putting in that physical break that allows you to totally exert yourself physically, it gets your mind off of whatever you were doing outside of the studio. You can come in, put yourself for that hour, that time period, and you're totally involved in a physical activity. For a lot of the classes, you're learning something that's either a slight modification of something you learned before or something completely different. And that provides this mental break. So then when you go back to your studies, you can focus more intently. You've had that break, you've allowed your mind to think about something new, you're kind of refreshed, and then you can go back and you're able to absorb more information.
One of the things that I found, over the years, especially during like black belt training, like black belt cycle, is not only exercise for the student, but also for the parent. It's one of the few things that you can actually do with your child, like as an exercise form. Like I can't go out on the field and play in a soccer game with my kids because they're, it's not for me, right? I can't go out and do a dance recital with, that's not for me. But with martial arts, you can do that together. And when we were doing black belt training cycle, it was amazing how many adults actually started their own journeys because their child had to, run, right, to get in shape to meet a time requirement that we had. And so the parent would all of a sudden step up and say, well, I need to help my child make this, so I'm going to start running. And then all of a sudden they went from running to, hey, you know what, maybe I'll take a class. And it becomes a family thing, and it really is an amazing opportunity to bond with the rest of your family and exercise, right? We say, funny little sayings like families that kick together stick together and things like that. But it's really, really true, and it just leads to a lifelong pursuit and habits of exercise. Let's go on to number 4. Which this one really hits home with, the ICANN program and ICANN attitude, is confidence. How is martial arts developing confidence unlike anything else that's out there?
Well, in several ways, but what we tend to come back to is our cycle of success, something that we ingrain in the kids' classes from the very beginning, where we ask you to set a goal. You have to know what you want. You instill certain steps to reach that goal. Once you've reached that goal or you're getting really close to it, then you want to kind of review what your goals were, how you got there, and then possibly set a new goal. If you've already reached that one, you've got to get a new one. This cycle instills confidence in all the individuals. You see yourself setting a goal, reaching the goal, setting a new goal, reaching that goal, setting a new goal, reaching that goal. Once you've done that a certain number of times, you're now confident in yourself that if you set your mind on something, you can achieve it. So whether that goal is martial arts related, whether that's attaining a certain rank, performing well in a particular tournament, something like that, or we encourage goals in our students outside of our classes. So your goal may be a certain grade on a spelling test. Your goal may be a particular achievement in another sport. Your goal may be something work related, but you set the goal, you figure out what steps you need to do to get there. You have a coach that may help you out along the way, and then you set a new goal. And that whole process really works on the confidence within yourself. Once you've done that, you know that you can do anything.
It's interesting too, because I know in this day and age, there's a lot of, participation awards and this, that, and the other thing in group type of events. But what I really love about the martial arts too, is it actually really develops your own self confidence, your own self-worth and self-esteem, because, the training does test you and it does try you. And it's through that effort and it's through the work that you have to put in and having it be a little bit difficult that when you achieve it, it feels good. Like you feel like you really did something, maybe something that you thought you couldn't do. And all of a sudden you realize that, hey, I can do this, right? I put in the work, I stuck to it, I made it happen, and here's the reward at the end. And that starts to develop this hunger or desire to just continue with that passion. And that's how we develop black belts, right? That's how we develop black belts by you know, we're not handing them something that they don't deserve. It's something that they actually earned and worked towards.
And an offshoot of that confidence is the idea of self-worth. You know, you've worked so hard to attain something that is on one level confidence, but it also builds into this idea of self-worth, so that no matter what circumstance you're in, whether it's someone who's speaking poorly of you professionally, personally, maybe even behind your back, you don't have to let it get to you, because you've got that value built into yourself. You know what you're worth, you know what you've worked for, and you just kind of let it roll off.
So let's use that as a transition into the last one, because the last one, you said the last reason that martial arts is a must is for self-defense. And of course there's physical self-defense, but there's also mental self-defense that goes along with it. So share your thoughts a little bit about on why martial arts, why kids should learn self-defense, and how to go about it correctly.
Sure. So the confidence alone is a step in self-defense. You know, you can find yourself in a lot of situations where there's a fight, maybe something that you weren't actually involved in, but you just happen upon. Maybe it's a bullying situation against one of your friends and you come across it, or even a situation where someone is accosting you. Having confidence in yourself that, one, you don't have to worry about words that are said against you, because as we know, words don't physically harm you. But two, having the confidence in your physical skill set. So the physical skill set that we teach here is very self-defense oriented. You know, whether it's striking, joint locks, throws, things that can dissuade potential attackers and incapacitate them from hurting you. Those are the skill set. Once you're confident in that skill set, you don't have to be worried about a situation you find yourself in. That worry, that concern, often leads people to bad situations. So say there's a situation that a real life fight, something that could turn harmful very quickly. And someone who does not have confidence in their own personal physical skill set could start mouthing off, could start making some physical actions that is only going to make the aggressor even more confident in what they're doing. And that could end up poorly for yourself. So having the confidence in your own skill set allows you to walk into that situation, not be worried about it, remain calm, and that can actually de-escalate the situation so that it never actually gets to a physical point. Past that, though, there are always situations that we can't control. You know, as much as we'd like to, we can't de-escalate every bad situation. So having that skill set, that physical skill set, does come in handy. So, you know, whether you're talking about in the public schools where there are certainly fights that happen, whether you're talking about situations after school, whether it's in an extracurricular activity or where aggressors follow students home, whether you're talking about a workplace. And at schools or workplaces, unfortunately, sometimes bad people come into those areas and cause problems, whether that's physical or sometimes with a weapon or otherwise. Having a physical skill set that you can fall back on and employ those skills as needed certainly is a useful tool to have. Having the confidence that you have that skill set there, even if you never actually need those tools, is a life changer. You know, so if we make an analogy of having a tool shed, you've got 100 different power tools in it. You may never need 99 of those. One tool, one or two may cut it for you vast majority of the time. But having the confidence that if this new project comes up, you have the exact tool that you need to fix that project, just having that knowledge there can make a lot of difference in the way you present yourself, the way you carry yourself out in public. So that's where I come to having that on this list of things that are very important for back to school. as having self-defense included, the physical skills needed. You know, we focus a lot on the physical skills. We focus a lot, sometimes even more, on the character development traits, that self-control, confidence, the determination that are all involved in learning martial arts. But it really does all come back down to learning the physical skill set.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think this is something that I've always said, is that real confidence comes from having real skills. If you have real skills, you'll be able to execute if you need to. Same thing with your analogy of the tool shed. You know, real confidence in building a deck comes from having real skills, right? You've put in the work, you've had experience, you've done it a million times, and you can build one at will, right? You're just good at that, and people say, wow, you know, he's an amazing carpenter, or he can build anything. Well, that's the same is true with martial arts. I think is, you know, the way you carry yourself is based on the physical training that you've gone through. And it's amazing how often, you know, at the beginning, you think, oh, you know, I need to learn how to, you know, kick and punch and block and joint lock and grapple and do all of these things but then what ends up happening is the more skilled you get, all of a sudden, you don't encounter those things because you carry yourself differently. And that's part of self-defense, is just, you know, being armed with those tools. All of a sudden, you know, the way you're carrying yourself, people just don't tend to mess with you. I mean, they just like, whoa, there's something about this guy or girl or, you know, child or woman or whatever it is that just says, they don't look that easy. Right. Yeah, very cool. Well, this is great. So I think that there are surely some people that are listening to this right now and are thinking to themselves, you know what? I've been thinking about martial arts for a while for my child, or I've been thinking about martial arts as something that I might like to do as an adult, and I just haven't pulled the trigger. But, you know, Sensei Doug seems like he's got a really good program going on, and they're going to want to take that first step. So if they wanted to reach out to you to take an introductory lesson or something to learn a little bit more about your school, check out classes, how should they do that? How should they reach out to you?
Well, the easiest way is either email or call. So you can email us at DowntownMartialArtsAcademy@gmail.com, or you can give us a call. That is area code 662-268-8208. And we'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, so let me I'm going to drop this in the podcast description. So you don't have to worry about trying to write that down as fast as I did. You'll just be able to go there and click on it and get there. So let me just repeat it back. It's DowntownMartialArtsAcademy at Gmail, right? At gmail.com.
That's right.
And 662-268-8208. Excellent. Okay. So I'll be sure to include that. Sensei Doug, it was a pleasure to have you on the ICANN podcast today. Super excited that you are embracing all of these ideas and you are, you know, building your community one black belt at a time. I think that's just terrific. And I do encourage anybody that's listening that if you haven't tried martial arts before and you're thinking about it, now would be a great time to do it, going into back to school season, to set your child up for success. So again, sir, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll talk to you again real soon.
Thank you for having me on. It's been great.